Yeah, hi Saksham, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the session and many congratulations for scoring 99.52 percentile. And this is a great percentile, right? And we just want to know your experience. How did you get this? How did you prepare for all the sections? And just give us a basic idea first. What was your percentile in all three individual section, and which section you find the tough one to score, and how did you manage this percentile? Let's first talk about this thing.
Okay, so I'll start from the very beginning. I'm a BTech graduate from NSIT. I've graduated in 2022. I also appeared for CAT 21, wherein I got a 98.64 percentile.
Okay.
I lacked the score required in DILR. I got a mere 85 percentile in DILR, so that wasn't enough to help me get to my dream college. So I reappeared for CAT 22, this time focusing more on the DILR aspect of the exam, so that I do not repeat the mistakes I've already committed in the previous CAT attempt. So coming on to CAT 22, I got a 93.96 percentile in VRC, a 98.94 percentile in DILR, and a 99.45 percentile in quants. So as I've mentioned, that DILR was something that I majorly focused on this year, keeping in mind that I had a decent score in VRC and quants the last year. So DILR was my main focus area that I had to improve for this CATS attempt. And for that, I initially started with just covering all the kinds of sets that are possible, all the range of sets like a Sudoku set, like puzzles, like set theory and all that. And after that, I moved on to some complex sets which do not fall in any category, but are like mixture of two or three categories combined together, which usually appear in mocks and all. So I gave a lot of time to first cover my basics and then build upon that to solve some complex sets. So that was my strategy for DILR. In quants, I was fairly comfortable since my last attempt I had a 99 percentile in quants. So in quants, I tried to keep revising back to the topics that I have already done, and I kept on attempting questions. Like, there is no better way to revise than to attempt questions. I've seen people who like go through the formulas, who just go through the theory classes and all that, but but the best thing that you can do to revise is practicing questions with your hand. And I remember that I started arithmetic by watching your no formula wala course, and that was, I think, a game changer for me. So those approaches, getting back to those approaches once again, really helped me maintain my momentum in quants. And for VRC, I focused just on reading things which I enjoyed. Like, VRC constitutes of reading comprehension. So the two words, reading and comprehension. You just have to read and you have to comprehend. It doesn't matter which topic the RC is from, like from which domain it is. The two things that you need to keep in mind is reading and comprehension, which you can develop through reading anything that you like. If you like sports articles, I used to read sports articles because I liked them. That helped me develop my comprehension skills. I used to read some books which I liked, so that helped me develop the comprehension skills. So I continued that this year as well, and thankfully I got a decent percentile in VRC as well.
Good, good. And talking about the DALR section, you throughout this year, your main focus was DALR section, right? So how many questions you attempted in the final CAT exam in DALR section?
I attempted two sets completely, and one set I attempted partially because it had a lot of cases in it. So I solved it for two cases, and I think I wasn't able to crack the third case. So I attempted the questions which were based on those two cases. So I completed around 2.5 sets out of the four sets.
And the two set that you attempted completely, were all the questions right from those two set?
Yes, so from the two sets I attempted, all the questions were right. From the half set I attempted, I think I got one question wrong in that.
Okay. So I guess you think that attempting two set is a decent score, can give you a decent score to get top percentile in DLR section, right? So,
Yes, sir, I think two sets are enough.
okay. And when you were preparing for DILR section, right, apart from practicing a different type of and varieties of set, what advice you would like to give to the students who are going to appear for CAT 2023, how they should be preparing for DLR section, because they are the people who don't know anything in DLR. Right. In fact, I know many of the students, start their LR preparation with sitting arrangement and data arrangement, and their preparation ended up with data arrangement and sitting arrangement. They never get to know what is quantitative reasoning, what is games and tournament, and all those sorts of set. And nowadays, I have personally observed that the sets in DLR sections are the combinations of two or three different types. It's a mixture of, as you mentioned, that these sets are generally the mixtures of different sets. If you're solving a Sudoku based puzzle, you also need some quantitative reasoning skills to do that. Without doing those concepts, you'll not be able to do it. So what will be your advice, how students should be completing, starting with the DLR section, and what should be they doing throughout the year to do good in DLR section?
Yes, sir. Like I mentioned that and this would be a recommendation to the upcoming students as well, that first you need to spend some time on the individual topics like quantitative reasoning, puzzles, and games and tournaments and all that. And then move on to practicing complex sets. Like what I did was I firstly followed your courses, which were individual in nature, like the games and theory, like the games and tournaments course, the set theory course, and the puzzles course. And I think after July, I moved on to your practice courses, wherein you would bring sets which were a bit complex in nature,
Hill
and had
Hill DLR live series, right?
yeah,
The one
and
I
the
was
marathons
on
as well.
YouTube, right? Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir. And therein I think you bought sets which had layers of complexities in it from different topics. So
Right.
after that I picked up those sets, and those things really helped. So first would be to cover up the basics, and then to find some sets, find some good sources, as well as some good sets which have these layers of complexities in it from different topics, and solving them.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And talking about the QA section, right? You are naturally good in QA section, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, sir.
And your percentile is also quite very good. It's 99 plus, right, in quant. How many questions you attempted in quant section in 2022?
I think I did not attempt 4 questions. So I attempted 18 questions, out of which I got 16 correct.
And your exact percentile in QA was 99 point?
4.5.
99.45. Okay, okay, that's great. And when it comes to the QA section, right? What was your experience when you were attempting the paper? Let's talk about that first. How you managed solving these many questions in the 40 minute? How did you pick questions? From which were you dependent on one particular section, right? You were targeting only arithmetic, or was it just the easy question, whichever easy questions are coming, whether it belongs to arithmetic or algebra or geometry, you will be targeting those first. How did you manage solving these many questions? Because this is attempting 18 out of 22 is something which is very difficult. So how did you manage these many questions?
So my strategy here was like I knew that I had some strong suits, like arithmetic was my strong suit, algebra was my strong suit, PNC and number systems were not my strong suit. So
Right.
I firstly decided that if I see a question which is from PNC and number system, I'll simply skip it. Even if it's a easy question, I'll skip it. I'll come back to it later. So my
Right.
first and foremost priority was to solve questions from arithmetic, algebra, and geometry.
Okay.
So with this, I kind of scanned through the entire section. I reached at the end, and I think after that I had good 4 or 5 minutes left. So I revisited the questions I had left. I think I attempted one question from PNC in the reviser attempt. So that was my strategy, first to complete all the questions from the topics wherein I'm comfortable, and then get back and to solve and see through the questions which I've left.
Okay, 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 that's great. And how did you prepare your QA section? I mean, how where did you learn the basics from, and what was your approach? How many questions you practice during the QA exam preparation, during the QA section preparation?
For quantitative aptitude, I firstly started with all your courses, which did
Okay.
not have any formulas, because
Right.
I am also that kind of a learner that that I can't remember formulas, and I know that the questions which CAT is going to ask are not going to be formula based. अगर formula से solve होते तो सबको formula पता है, they would have solved it. Everyone would have solved it. So
Right.
I think I really liked your approach, and I attempted all your courses from all your topics in my 21 attempt. So from that perspective, my quantitative aptitude preparation was done, and I had to keep doing the practice. So again, I just did the practice courses and the practice sessions that you took on YouTube to kind of stay in touch with the topics that I've already covered. So that was my entire journey. So anything again, I would recommend to a new learner that they should focus more on the rather than formulas. That would make their preparation more smooth and they will be more comfortable with their approach towards the quantitative aptitude section.
Obviously, logic matters a lot rather than just cramming formulas. That this is a blockade that you will have in your mind when you're relying on the formulas. This you'll not be able to understand the concepts in depth. This is what I keep on telling all the students, right, who are coming to my sessions. And talking about the other topics, right? How did you prepare for algebra, geometry, and PNC?
So for algebra, I think for algebra again, I started with the basics. I started completed all the basic lessons that you had, and then I moved on to the practice courses. That has been my approach in almost all the DILR and uh, quant areas. That first I started with the basic lessons, then I moved on to the practice courses. So again, for PNC, I had to revise it a lot because I wasn't that comfortable in that. So I kept those things for the last phase of my preparation so that those things are fresh in my mind. And I think that also helped me. I could remember some of the concepts, some of the formulas that were taught in the classes, and I could apply them during the exam. And same for number system, I specifically made a point that before 1 week before the exam, I will need to revise these topics in depth because I'm not comfortable with those. So that I think really helped me to just before the exam do all the things that you find tough so that they are fresh when you enter the examination, and you can have you can have fresh things and fresh concepts and you can apply them in the exam.
Any priority that students should be giving to the individual section when it comes to CAT exam? For example, do you believe that students should be relying on one or two topics? For example, even arithmetic had around 9 to 10 questions in CAT 2022. So if somebody is doing all the questions from arithmetic, he will reach to the 90-95 percentile. Should students be relying on this on some specific topics, or is it compulsory for them to do the 100% quant syllabus? What is your experience in this?
I think completing the syllabus is an ideal thing to do because even if you find, like I have found PNC tough, so even if you find some topics tough and if you get an easy question from it and you get tough questions from the topics you're comfortable with, you might get uncomfortable in the exam. So I think it's good to be ready for all the scenarios and at least do the basics of the things you find tough, and so that you are able to attempt the easy questions. So even if the exam is easy or certain topics are easy, you are able to attempt them and you are not stuck with the difficult questions of the topics you find comfort in. So I think completing 100% syllabus is good, but having strong sections is also a good thing to have. Like if you have strong uh, hold in arithmetic, that would really help you because major quant section contains arithmetic.
Right.
So that's
Right. And talking about the VRC section, what was your score in VRC? How many questions you attempted? How many questions you got it right?
I don't remember how many questions I attempted in that section, but I got a 93.96 percentile.
Okay.
I remember that the new question type which was introduced, para completion, I got all wrong in that section.
Okay.
So, so RCs was my strong suit. VA hasn't been my strong suit yet.
Okay.
And having a new question type altogether was a surprise for me. So that didn't really work out for me really well.
Okay.
So yeah, I remember I attempted all the RCs, and VA, I left a few questions which I was not sure with, or and the ones that that had negative marking. So I think that was my approach during the exam while attempting the VARC section.
How did you prepare for VARC? I mean, what were you doing when you were preparing for reading comprehension? What were you doing to improve your readings? And what do you think? Which one is a major section that, or the one thing that students should concentrate upon while preparing for VARC section?
So again, I prepared for VRC section by focusing mainly on RCs because 16 questions are from RCs
Right.
out of the 22 questions. So I first priority was to complete, to be strong, to have a strong hold in the RC section and then move on to the VA because VA for me was quite uncertain. I was getting score in some mocks, I wasn't getting score in some mocks in the VA section. But RC, I was able to attempt the RCs. I was confident with my approach in RCs. So from the preparation standpoint, I started RCs by developing a reading habit because I didn't have a reading habit when I appeared for CAT 21. I started reading some books. I started with fiction because, as I mentioned previously, reading comprehension contains two simple words: reading and comprehension. So
Right.
my focus was to develop that ability to comprehend things, even though they are from whichever topic, whichever domain, and develop that comprehension skill with tough language. I started with that. I started with reading with fiction books. I moved on to autobiographies. I moved on to non-fiction books. I read some articles which I was interested in just to develop that comprehension skills. So that really helped me. And yeah, I think it's quite easy once you get hold of the language. It's quite easy to go through the passage and answer the questions because each and every answer is present in what was written in the RC. So I think that approach the candidate should follow, that first to focus on developing a comprehension skill.
Right. And how many mock when did you completed your exam syllabus? What was the timeline of your exam preparation? When did you completed your syllabus and when did you started with mocks?
So my syllabus, I had, like, since I appeared for CAT 21 as well, my syllabus was more or less complete.
Okay.
And I restarted my preparation in March, I think.
Okay.
And from that, I took on to the basics. And my job started in June. So from that point onwards, I started getting a bit less time to
Mm,
focus on my preparation. So I
okay.
had this in mind that till June, I should be able to revise at least once all the topics that I've done for the previous attempt. So I tried that, and till July I was able to revise all the topics. And from that I picked up mocks. I used to attempt 2 mocks every weekend.
Mm,
So that was like a continuous habit for the next 4 months till the CAT exam, that I had attempted 2 mocks every week. So that was my journey, kind of.
okay. How many mocks did you get give or overall before the CAT exam?
So 2 mocks for 4 months, I think around eight, around 32 mocks I gave before the CAT exam.
What will be your advice to the students when it comes to mocks? Because I personally I have seen a lot of students giving mocks, right, but they're not doing the proper analysis. What is the importance of analysis when it comes to the mocks exam? How it can improve your exam preparation?
Yes, sir. And for mocks, I would say mocks are the best way to revise the things. Like, once you give a mock, you get to know which topics are your strong suit and which topics are your weak suit. So that's what I did, and that that's what I would recommend to anyone. That give mocks and analyze them and see which topics are you more comfortable with. Like, I realized that I was comfortable with arithmetic through mocks. There
Mm,
was no other way to determine whether I was strong with arithmetic or not, because once you are studying anything, once the course of arithmetic is going, everything flows. Once the course of PNC is going, you can solve everything. But once the courses have ended and you are on your own and you have a plethora of questions to attempt, then you get to know that which questions are you comfortable with, which questions you should attempt first. And then from that point onwards, you start to develop a strategy that you will follow in your exam. So giving mocks and analyzing, firstly to see what your strong suits are, and secondly to work on your weak areas. Like, I got to know that PNC was my weak suit, so I used to make a point that after every mock I will go and reattempt the PNC questions. And I think it's the best way to revise, because mocks cover all the syllabus that is there, and you get to do 1 or 2 questions from each and every topic. So that's again the best way to revise. And if you don't analyze them, you won't get that desired outcome of attempting a mock. So giving as well as analyzing a mock is really important.
okay, that's great, Saksham. I guess this will definitely help students, how they should start their journey of CAT exam preparation for 2023. And wish you all the best for your calls, and hopefully you will convert some top B schools this year and will make us proud. Thank you so much for giving this insight in your exam preparation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.